And I'm live. It's the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. This one is going to be less Hebrew lore and more self-development. When I first started this channel, it was about faith, spirituality, religion, and self-development. I have a few videos that I did, motivational type of things, self-developmental type of videos, and there's a playlist if you want to check that out. I'll link it. This is going to be another one of those self-development ones, and it's going to deal with humor. And the reason why it's going to deal with humor, hang on, is because after close to 70 years, Mad Magazine is going off the shelves and will be, I think, effectively out of business. Now, I love Mad Magazine. I've been reading it for years. My father was a fan, and then I didn't really grow up with it. When I met my wife, we got back into Mad after we got married, or maybe even before that. I think after we got married, we got back into Mad Magazine, and we've been subscribing for over a decade for sure. Over a decade for sure. And I love comedy. I love humor. I'm also a screenwriter by trade, and most of what I've written, none of my screenplays have been turned into movies yet, but the things that I have written were primarily humor. And even if they were dramatic, they were laced with humor. They had that backbone of drama with funny situations and dialogue. You know, as I see it, that's what I was trying to do anyway. I'm a man of words and of comedy. I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. Someone told me once, it's amazing how one moment you can appear to be very much like a sage, but then the next second you can look like Jim Carrey. And at the time, I said, well, it's, you know, it's one and the same. It's two sides of the same coin. And it's the idea of the jester is the one who can tell the truth. The one that can laugh at everything and everyone, including himself, is the one that can tell the truth without risking offense because he makes fun of everyone. Something like that, you know. It's sometimes I can be more humorous, sometimes I can be more, well, less humorous, but comedy is something that's part of me. It's ingrained into my genetics. It's a tragedy that happens to someone else. That's what I was told in film school, that it's one of the, hey, James in Pennsylvania in the chat, hi there. So people are saying, some people are saying about Mad Magazine closing down, good riddance to bad rubbish. They haven't been funny or edgy in years, so they might as well just take the plunge, and I mean, pull the plug rather, and the whole thing. Now, on my end, I know that for the longest time, Mad Magazine, the main focus, I think, was the politics of the US. Too much. Mad Magazine has tons of universal things to it. Over the years, certainly in the beginning, I mean, it's always taken jabs at Americana, contemporary and past Americana, and politics go with that. Of course, laughing at your leaders and government is part of satire, and rightly so. But when you base so much of the publication on it, constantly referencing it, constantly building off of it, it's something that couldn't hold, because politics can be a very fickle thing. So I feel that you shoot yourself in the foot if you focus on it too much. So for the longest time, they've been focusing too much, in my opinion, on politics. I know it's an American magazine, and politics is a very American thing. I mean, it's not a very American thing, but I can't compare it to any other people, but it seems that Americans are always very preoccupied with their politicians. Maybe that's everyone, but certainly in the US, being the primary, if not only, superpower right now, it gets more traction and a larger spread all over the globe. People look to the US and its leaders for better or worse, and the people of the US, you know, I mean, they'll laugh at politics all the time, but there's a time when it's just too much. A large part of Mad Magazine used to be universal, and it just went too far. And the people who are saying that this, good riddance, they haven't been funny or edgy, are saying that Mad Magazine was afraid to be funny or edgy. It's the idea that this PC safe space culture thing that's going on in the US and parts of Europe and maybe other places, that sort of thing, that's not a world that I know. I grew up in Israel, where there is no real PC culture. I mean, I'm sure it's getting there, but I didn't go to university, and even if I would, it would have been years ago. I wasn't exposed to any of this PC related, this political correctness related environment, if for lack of a better term. I'm not a very politically correct individual. I just don't think that the opinions that I hold or harbor are very. Some of them are harsh, but a lot of them are very much go with the flow, and I try to accommodate in the better sense of the word. But I believe I am biased in some ways. I haven't been exposed to this what's it called, victim mentality that people are talking about, this oversensitivity that people are talking about. I haven't really been privy to it, only indirectly through my woman who is studying for her master's in the Netherlands. So I had a taste of that kind of vicariously through her discussions she's had and things that she's said and seen and done and heard. So where is the line? My wife and I were having this conversation now that Mad Magazine was closing, and we were both thinking about it, and we were having the conversation just a day or two ago. The conversation of, so where does the line go? You're either allowed to laugh at everything, or you are not allowed to laugh at anything. It's one or the other, seemingly. Seemingly, you should be allowed to laugh at anything and everything, right? Humor is part of how we develop. It really is, I feel. Humor is something that can bring people together. Much like sports and music, humor is a universal language. Slapstick is a universal concept and theory and practice. Something that everyone can relate to. And you can take that however you want. But it's my contention that humor, sports, music bring people together in a way that nothing else does. So I believe that you should be allowed to laugh at everything. The question is how you go about it. You need to have humility, real, honest to goodness humility, in order to laugh at everything. It means you also need to laugh at yourself. It means that you sometimes also need to be self-deprecating. Again, all in good measure. If we're talking about self-development, if we're talking about positive traits like humility that enable you to be truly humorous and not offend for the sake of offending and not offend for the sake of a cheap laugh, but laugh at everything in a way where it's the right time and place. A well-placed pun, gesture, word, or dialogue can achieve a lot, break a lot of stereotypes, even if you're using those very stereotypes. So people are saying that Mad Magazine hasn't been funny for years, that it was bowing to its not sponsors, it's to the money, basically. And I know that's for some time the Mad website was free, and then they started taking on ads. I haven't been to the Mad website in years, but I heard this recently in the wake of this Mad magazine thing. People were talking about it. I'm still not going. I still don't know what happened there, and I doubt I'll ever really find out. But I know that they have been focusing too much on politics and not enough on actual humor that is universal and that makes fun of everyone in the same way. This is key. If you're going to laugh at everyone, do it right. Because it really, again, it's either you feel that everything is up for grabs, you can laugh at everything and everyone, or you can laugh at nothing. It's a decision that you got to make. If you know that you can't control yourself and you haven't developed yourself to such an extent, then silence is golden and it's your guide. If it's iffy, if you're feeling unsure about it, keep your mouth shut. But if you are being genuine And if you are humble enough to know the right time and place of when to say what, then yeah, you should be allowed to laugh at everything. I think this is something that Mad Magazine maybe, um, I don't know if the word is forgot. Look, Mad Magazine last year revamped and they went back to issue number one after 520 something, I think, issues or something close to that. They decided to revamp the magazine and come out with issue one. They redid the whole thing, new paper, a new editorial and art staff, or changes in staff anyway, if not completely new, certain changes in staff. And they went on a new path. I didn't like what they did. Now, obviously, I was reading Mad for years, so I was completely into their old format, but I could appreciate them wanting to advance and take it in a different way. I just didn't really enjoy it because I was too much. I was really happy with a few of the writers and artists in the old Mad magazine. So I'm not saying be ignorant and laugh at everyone, regardless of anything, with no inner guide. No, I am for speaking up against things and laughing at everything and breaking taboos and a lot of that stuff, but I feel you should, even when you break something, you need to give it the right time and place. What did Picasso say? He said, learn the rules like a professional so you can break them like an artist. It's that type of thing. Once you learn the rules, once you can govern yourself, then you can give yourself proper measure. And then you can laugh at everything and everyone, including yourself, with confidence because you are guided by the proper, I don't know, with the proper parameters in place. I mean, everyone is allowed to make mistakes, but you can't forgive ignorance if it's perpetuated in the same person and they think that they're all that. If someone thinks that they are being funny by perpetuating stereotypes and by being completely insensitive all the time, not for the right reasons either, without giving things their proper time and place, disregarding everyone and everything, unless they're doing it and they can show why, I think it's just immaturity. And again, maturity is overrated. I believe you should be allowed to be a fool. You should be allowed to be a child. Personally, I believe that everything has its time and place. And that's where I and a few of the other criticizers of MAD, if we shall we say, that's where we differ. So my wife and I were talking. Are you allowed to? You're either allowed to laugh at everything, or you're not allowed to laugh at anything. It's better to have a world where you are allowed to laugh at everything. It's better because humor can bring us together. Humor can cause us to change perspective and see a different point of view in a way that other things cannot. Some things can come close, I'm sure, definitely even, but not in the same way that humor can. It's a very specific feeling. You get someone excited, it's something, whether it's, but you get someone laughing. I'm saying holding their tummy, rolling on the floor, kicking in the air, striking at, laughing. That's a kind of intimacy and connection, that there's a vulnerability there. Letting your guard down and laughing at a situation, whether it demands it or not, it shows something about you. It shows something about the nature of the situation and of reality and human nature. Babies, people, let's not forget babies. One of the first things they do is develop a very rudimentary and early sense of humor. It's true. Babies play games. Babies laugh and smile after a few months. I remember waiting for my kids to laugh and smile. It's an amazing thing, and it can bring healing physically, mentally. There's laughter workshops and seminars, and not by accident, not by chance. We should be allowed to laugh at everything. So how does this fit in? How does this tie into self-development, right? I said this channel is religion, spirituality, faith, and self-development. And this is part of self-development. Developing yourself through humility, which leads you to humor in a way that works, that you're not seen as a douche who just laughs at everyone and breaks taboos for the sake of breaking taboos. And that, some people may do that, fine. But I am of the opinion that a well-placed joke can do a lot, not just to open up people's eyes and mind and cause them to maybe change perspective, but to win them over, you know, in a way that's maybe not as harsh. But I believe that harshness also has a place. It is so subjective. It's subject to changes in circumstances and cultures and people and moods. So many factors are involved that to say that you're not allowed to laugh at anything is, I mean, it's tantamount to, well, silencing people eventually. And I think that we're seeing part of that with the PC culture. I don't know if Mad were afraid to be breaking taboos and being edgy and being and hurting people and offending people or not. I know that they were more into the politics and the gross things than the. I think that makes sense. And more than the edgy in your face things. I can't place it. I'm not too knowledgeable in the lore of Mad since the 50s or 60s. I'm going on what I heard people say, which is that they used to be a lot more edgy. I mean, I've been reading them since the later 90s and up until now for almost 20 years, and I've been subscribing for, like I said, over a decade. So I know a thing or two about Mad, you know. I know what I like. And I've also read some of their vintage retro stuff. So if you're going to laugh using a stereotype, do it to negate the stereotype. Do it to show the silliness and the ridiculousness, the futility of the stereotype. You can use taboos in order to break them, and you can use filters and preconceived notions in order to shatter them. But to use them just to get a cheap laugh, after the laughter fades, there's this silence, there's the pause, there's this sometimes uncomfortable feeling, and that could be great for some people. Some people get a high out of that, out of making people uncomfortable. But why are you pulling the people out of their comfort zone? Are you doing it for the cheap laugh, or are you trying to make them think? If you're doing it just to offend people and be mean, all right, I guess that has its place, but that's a game that can't be perpetuated for the long run. It's bad karma. But if you're doing it to open up people's eyes and have them understand that we're all the same eventually in some way, that we're all human and we're all dumbasses who are trying to just figure it out, then yeah, you can laugh at everything. And when it's properly placed and with measure, I think you can laugh at everything and everyone. You just need to know how to do it and when to shut up. It's like people are saying that you should leave the feminine comedy to the female comics. All right, I'm not a comedian, but I can see where they're coming from. Still, if a guy had a good feminine gag and you went about it the right way, that can elicit a big, huge laugh because it's a guy. So, to sum up, self development is something that incorporates many facets of your being. Don't think that because you want to develop yourself, you need to be serious all the time. The evil inclination that wants you to grow up and be serious, it shows you that laughter and smiling can sometimes be perceived as immature, and immaturity is not okay. And this is fundamentally wrong. Immaturity has its place. It's all about where you're guiding it. The guide needs to be, your inner self needs to be mature, but you can be immature, and there's no harm and no shame in that if you do it right. If you commit to it on a certain bit, you know what I mean? I'm talking about humor. So Mad Magazine is it's shutting down. So I feel we need to learn how to help ourselves. Looking at Mad Magazine as someone called it a cautionary tale. We should be allowed to be to be politically incorrect, to laugh at everyone and everything, to break taboos, but to go about it in a way where it reaches what it should reach. Even if there are people who are saying do it for the sake of doing it, and they can say that, and that's cool, but I don't feel that personally. I think it needs to be justified, or else you're just using it for your own egocentric kind of reasons that can't be played out again and again over time. Something of such significance, like dealing with human beings, sensitivity, being oversensitive. I don't think there is such a thing as being oversensitive. No, there is. But I do think that most people who are labeled oversensitive, I don't think they are. I think they just, I don't know, maybe they just don't know how to take a joke. Maybe that is, I mean, maybe that is oversensitivity. I don't know. I think it's people who forgot. It's not that they don't know how to. I think they forgot how to take a joke. But I don't know. I'm just rambling now. At this point, I'm rambling. So I'll finish up for real this time. This has been a bit of a different video, but I'm glad I did it. I will see you Friday, God willing, at this week's Torah portion. Let's have a wonderful continuation of this week. Be well. God bless. See ya.